Welcome to Profits in Process. I'm your host, Ryan Grant, and today's episode is fun for me because this guest is, I like to say, a machine, and that might be disrespectful. I don't want to use that term as disrespectful, but I've watched this woman build her lifestyle and career in a way that not many, if any, can. And it's in a field I really appreciate and is close to me in regards to its wellness and around fitness and training. So it's been wonderful to watch her actually take on this because I know the amount of energy and focus and discipline and devotion is taken individually and grow throughout it. So I'm excited for myself and for you to hear about her process. And with that, I welcome Massy.
Hello.
Hey, Massy.
Thank you so much for having me. What a description.
It's been wonderful to watch you grow and just work, because I know that's what it is. I know that you're a worker, and I use the word machine because machines work.
Yeah.
And the capacity of what I've seen you be willing to just push through and drive. And I think most people really don't understand what it takes to, number one, just energetically and mentally change your body. It's not just your body, it's your lifestyle in all capacity. Mm-hmm. And that encompassing changes everything. It like changes your cells in my mind.
Your brain chemistry.
Absolutely.
Everything.
So I always start off, and for the most part, I ask all the guests, what do you do?
Oof. What don't I do? What do I do? I optimize people. And I'm starting to use that word more and more often. Mm-hmm. Because when people look at me from the outside, they can say, oh, Massy's a personal trainer, health coach, entrepreneur, mompreneur.
Yeah.
But my forte is behavioral change and optimizing people's lives.
I was just having this conversation in regards to wellness with my daughter's school in relation to them talking about diets. And immediately when I start talking about diets with people, they think about the food, and they think about, in relation to me, because of athleticism and performance. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not physical performance that I'm only talking about. It's behavioral, it's mental. And people don't really understand that, we're in this space now where everybody's conscious about everything in regards to EQ, IQ. And for me, I'm like, then look at all behaviors in regards to how they affect all behaviors. So when you say that you are behavioral optimization, I love that. So please build on that.
Well, the goal, I started fitness because of mental health. It wasn't just about the body.
Wonderful.
So for me, training means rewiring my brain. And I don't think I've ever said this in any interview. My mind works differently. It's constantly going. I don't know how to explain that. I have innate energy within me that if I don't exhaust it, it will consume me.
In an unhealthy way.
In an unhealthy way. So I was that child that always wanted to learn. I used to challenge my teachers.
Yeah.
I used to challenge authority. I was always that child questioning, curious, why? And if something didn't resonate with me, I would be the first one to say, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Or this doesn't sound okay. So I'm still trying to unlock my brain. I call it anxiety. And it's a superpower.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And I feel it in my body. I have all this energy. So I started fitness because of depression. Mm-hmm. And depression manifests in many different ways. You know, you have episodes where you're in extreme low, episodes where you're extreme high. Yeah. And some of my family's in the medical field, and I saw my family just being extremely unhealthy when I emigrated from the Dominican to the States. It was a big change. And it was like a huge change, and I had to acclimate to that lifestyle. So looking back at my childhood, we had healthy but unhealthy lifestyles. And once my brother got diagnosed with Burkitt's lymphoma, and I was dealing with a lot, just giving you the short story, I fell into a deep depression and I had to quit school. I wanted to go and be a forensic pathologist.
Oh, wow.
And I've always been curious about the mind of humans, why we do certain things, why we think the way we think. So I'm infatuated with humans.
Yeah.
I love humans. So fitness for me was a catalyst, and it taught me everything. Let me rephrase this. I didn't have the tools. Back when my parents were born, and our parents, they didn't have the tools. And imagine in a third world country where you're trying to do your best, they didn't have the tools that we have right now. So they didn't teach me how to cope. They didn't teach me about emotions. They didn't teach me about emotional intelligence the way that I'm teaching my daughter now. Yeah. So I had to figure out a lot of things. So fitness for me, it gave me the tools to cope with emotions.
What made you want to figure it out as opposed to taking on the same path as your parents? Because I feel like a lot of times, and I've used this reference before in regards to surviving versus thriving. You know, a lot of times our parents and the generations before them were in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you're not really thinking about pulling yourself out from an awareness and saying, oh, wow, you know what, I could improve this, or how do I actually, it's like, no, right now I have to survive. And I'll do whatever it takes just to survive, just to keep my head above water. And were you in a space where you were still trying to survive, or did you recognize like, no, I no longer want to survive. Now I actually want to recognize I don't have to do this anymore and I'm going to change it.
Well, I was so young. You know, your frontal lobe is not even developed.
Yeah.
Up until like the age of 25. So I just didn't know. I was just going through life and figuring things out on my own. I've always been studious, always been learning about the world. I remember being back home and not even being interested in anything that was around me. I was interested in the world, how other cultures worked, other religions. I've always had this relationship with my mom that now is a lot nicer about religion, because I was born in a Orthodox Christian household. And it wasn't up until I came to America that I started to meet other cultures, other people with different religions and whatnot. And they were wonderful.
Yeah.
Those people were wonderful. I never judged them based on their belief systems.
Absolutely.
But they were wonderful.
You
so I
meet them on a
started
human
to
level.
make my own interpretations of life. And obviously, you have like moments. I mean, I always say innately, we have been given this big brain that makes us completely different from other mammals that can do what we do. So within me, I don't know, I've always been this way. I've always thought bigger. I love people. I love the world. I love learning. I love different cultures. I love to learn. So fitness for me was a coping mechanism. And because I like to learn, and because I've always been the type who, if you tell me I can do something, oh, you have challenged me. I will figure it out.
I've seen that.
No, I will figure it out.
Absolutely.
And I will fail and fail and fail and continue to learn until I get it done. So for me, when I first started training, a lot of people do not know I have a blood disorder, beta thalassemia, that impacts me and gives me asthma in the process.
Really?
So I have exercise-induced asthma.
Oh.
Anytime that I go running, and I posted, anytime that I go running, I have a temperature allergy based on my body's inability to carry oxygen, how most of us carry it.
Yeah.
So, but thankfully, with the lifestyle that I live, I've been able to manage that.
I was going to say, how do you manage that?
It's a painful thing. It's just painful. And getting your endurance training, I'm always fatigued, even when I don't want to. And not always fatigued. I was always fatigued back then. But changing my habits
absolutely
improved everything.
Yeah.
And it was a process of figuring things out because I was enamored with the idea of becoming better. And I remember I never wanted to be neither medicated or like I've always understood seeing my mom, and especially after my brother and seeing him through that process, that when you are being given prescription medication, you are giving something up. When you're rushing the process of things that are natural, things that are linear, things that everybody knows, this is how it's done, and you're trying to either take that process and shorten it, you're always giving up something.
Absolutely.
Right? That in the long term, it's going to hurt.
It's going to affect you.
Yeah. So it unlocked everything. It gave me confidence when I didn't have any confidence. It helped me understand that you earn things, that things are possible when you put in the work. I remember, just not... Let me backtrack because I went off a little bit, but I never wanted to be medicated. I saw how that went. I knew I needed a change. I mean, I spent 8 months, I quit school. 8 months. I mean, I gave it up. When my brother was sick, I had to completely sacrifice my dreams, my life, and I don't regret it. It actually changed my path in everything that I'm doing right now.
That's wonderful, because I was going to ask what your relationship with regret is in any capacity.
I don't regret anything.
I love that.
I could tell you, in the past 3 years, I've understood everything that the world and the universe, like you obviously have the power to take your life based on your choices. You have choices, right? But let's say you take the wrong path, you can also fix that and come back and put yourself in a different path. But sometimes life is just going to deal things that you were never expecting. Life is just going to throw things at you. I don't regret it. I mean, that process, it taught me resilience. I saw my best friend, my brother, my twin, we're Irish twins, going through something that it just changed my life. It made me believe in the impossible. It made me,
it opened up something in you.
This is making me emotional because the things that I saw my brother go through, oh my God. And I never thought he was going to die. Never. Seeing my brother 6'4", 104 pounds full of tumors and being told that he had 2 weeks to live. And when I saw him, when he came from DR and I saw him firsthand because my mom was hiding everything. I saw him, I cried so hard. And then we admitted it to the hospital. And then from there on, never crossed my mind that my brother was going to die. So it gave me, it changed my perspective. It shook my world.
Transformed.
It gave me an ability to believe in this gut feeling that I had. My brother's never going to die. It never crossed my mind. So I was just pushing through, and that entire process, he helped me. He's my only blood brother. Mom and dad. So that meant for me, if it happened to him, that's coming for me. That's my literally, we were born same day. 1 year apart, almost at the same time by like 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Born with the same doctor. It's a crazy story, right? So it truly changed everything. And for me, I said that was going to be me. So I need to change my patterns.
And I don't know if I've said this yet on the podcast, but my father trained us, but he trained us out of fear. And it was fear because of his situation. My father has chronic asthma, like bad. He's been in the hospital. My father also had a devastating injury to his ankle. The sport I chose, my father did not want me to play football. So he was like, I'm scared of you getting hurt. I'm scared. I grew up with asthma. My father was like, I'm going to run it out of you, because he realized in himself, the more he trained, the better he felt. So he was like, no, I'm just going to work you guys and develop your bodies to the point that injury is a part of the game, and these are things we can't control, but I'm going to make your bodies as optimal as possible so that, we'll minimize, the injuries and that stuff. So I see it as a proactive. It was taking fear and being proactive in it, not allowing fear to control you, because it's okay. Like fear is natural and as humans, it's actually,
it protects you.
Exactly. It protects us in many ways, but it's not about fear. It's what you do with it. So to hear you say like, yo, seeing my brother in this, I was like, oh, I think this is coming for me. It's like, that might be fearful, but it didn't cripple you. It didn't take, it didn't, make you lessen or dim you in any capacity. It actually activated something inside you that you were like, oh, nah.
I started to learn. I became obsessed.
Yeah.
I became obsessive compulsive with health.
Okay.
Understanding my culture, because we're Dominicans. I mean, we're still eating foods of slaves.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are very unhealthy in the way that we eat. And my mom always dealt with being obese, obese, but overweight. And it was something that she always struggled with. Our culture is really unhealthy. I was really unhealthy. Like, Ryan, when I'm telling you, I couldn't even run a block without being out of breath. And I was let me not use this word to describe me, but it's so thin and so weak mentally. I don't think I ever had a conversation with my parents about female confidence. My parents protected us to the point where they actually hurt us by not showing us what was the reality, what we were going to go through once we became coming of age of a woman,
absolutely.
right? And I left my home when I was 13. When I say I left my home, I went with my dad. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't leave my home. So I went from one household that was teaching me all this kindness and all this to another household where it was, oh, I'm going to teach you kindness, but I'm going to teach you how to be relentless. And my father always said, my dad is so cool. My parents are really cool. My dad is highly intelligent. And for a man who came out of the countryside as a rice picker, and a man that right now has assets, has houses, and was an entrepreneur in business, he's so smart.
Wonderful.
I love talking to my dad. But he was brutal. And there was no space for mediocrity because of how hard he had it. So, it's very cultural,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And anything. It's like, oh, you brought an A? That could have been an A+. Oh, you did this? Well, but you didn't do it like this. It was a lot of that. There was love, but it was tough love.
Yeah.
And I rebelled. Oh, did I rebel? Oof. I emancipated when I was 17. I was doing all the wrong things. Before I got into fitness, I was doing all the wrong things. I rebelled to my parents so hard because I was different.
Yeah.
I am traditional. I hold traditional values, but I'm different. I've always been the odd one in my family. Completely different. So fitness was, for me, the tools to cope with understanding how to be human and understanding the game of life. That school and even my parents, I wouldn't say even failed because they just didn't have the tools. Right. They just didn't have the tools to give that information to me when they had to. Now it's a different conversation.
Would you say that, I said I can relate so much to that in regards to movement for me And I say movement because it's expressed itself as sport and training and stuff like that. But movement for me has given me an awareness of the world and a self-awareness that other things don't necessarily give me in the moment. Because I decided to go full force into that space, I've had understandings of life through my sport that had nothing to do with the sport, you know. Like I might, before play might have started, I'll have this aha, bing, of something in the world, and I'm like, oh wow, and then the play starts. Or I remember I got popped one time, knocked into the end zone, and I woke up to like the crowd like screaming, but I wasn't even thinking about scoring. I was thinking about this like epiphany that I had about life. And I think that when we choose something, with craft, hobby, art, whatever it may be, something that we do, we acknowledge internally that we are going to go full force into this space. That's what it becomes, a tool that unlocks not just something for the tool, for what we're doing, everything. Like, so it makes perfect sense as to why it unlocked everything for you.
And not people just think about this. We're modern humans, but if you date back to the hunter-gatherer days, we're supposed to move. We're supposed to interact with nature, right? And by becoming more modern, we have lost all the traits that make us human and the things that we need to do in order to optimize our life and have a long life that is healthy. Add America to the mix, and now we're in this hamster wheel we can't really get out of. Yeah. So what I'm teaching, it's not, I'm just going to give you a workout. It's a philosophy. And when you study movement and how it relates to like cognitive health, you're rewiring with those 4 hormones that people are always looking for: serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, and oxytocin. All those good hormones that we're constantly looking, whether it's by engaging in the wrong things, you know, dopamine, you go and spend X amount of money and, you know, you go get new things, and, or, pleasure, whatever, and you know what I mean. So exercise does all of those things. And that's what it does for me every single day that I move. It rewires my brain, and it does it for long time, like for out of the 24 hours, short periods of time to think, you know, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours, it lingers. Yeah, absolutely. So this is when, depending on the type of exercise, you can have really positive feelings of exercise. You know, what I did yesterday, it has me pretty much like, oh my God, what did I just do? Right? But it has all these amazing physiological, what's the word that I'm looking for? All these like good things for like your brain. So when we're talking about depression, anxiety, and even feeling lacking energy, movement creates energy.
That's I tell people, it's like, no, when I don't train, when I don't work out, I feel worse. Yeah. Like my body feels terrible when I don't move. Yeah. And somebody gave me a reference point for this. Years ago when I had a R8, and I didn't drive it for like a month and a half, 2 months, or something like that. It was a little while. And when I tried to start driving, it was the first time I bought like a sports car like that. When I tried to drive it, it wouldn't start. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And so finally, when I got all done, they were like, yo, you have to drive these cars. You have to drive them fast. Because these cars, the engines are built to be driven, and like they're not racing cars, but kind of. And I was like, oh. And I equated that to myself. And I was like, no, I have to move. The year my ankle felt the worst was the year I retired. Because I ran the least, I did the least amount of work that I had done in, 30 years. So it was really interesting that for me, it was like, oh no, I'm a high-end machine. I have to put high-end fuel, because I can tell when I don't put high-end fuel and how I feel. And I, give myself leeways in that, but I have to be honest about that. It's like, I know why I don't feel good. I'm not like, oh, it's like, no, I'm either not moving or not eating right, not doing the things that I know will help my body feel better. And that's an awareness of me knowing my body and learning. It's like, no, you know what feels good. And I think that, to me, I really appreciate those spaces where we get to a point where we are aware, we have such a self-awareness because of what we've done through work ethic, through experience, that there's a level of accountability now for ourselves where it's like, no, you know whether or not you're on top of your game. I actually didn't even realize how similar we are in mentality. Like, I always appreciated from afar seeing you work because I know what that takes, but hearing you articulate it now is like refreshing. What would you say that, we, for a lot of people in regards to like process and value, success is something, what success looks like. And it's a very personal definition. So what does that look like to you?
So as a human, this is what I'm trying to teach my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm successful because I'm in the right space for what I've chosen to do with my life. I don't think I'm going to stop doing this ever, right? Therefore, I'm successful. When I wake up, I'm looking at what I have to do. And some days are really, really hard because the things that I want to do are big things for my community. Mm-hmm. And for 11 years, I've been self-funded. I haven't taken one penny. I've gotten so many good offers about expansion, about taking things globally and making the brand so huge. But I will lose my voice. Mm-hmm. And my vision would just get watered down. So for me, I'm successful because
why is that important? I want the audience to understand personally, but also to give perspective as to why that's really important for you and why the possibility of not taking outside, because there's value in, taking outside, but essentially I want you to really let people know why you see that as important and valuable to you in regards to why you have it and why you choose to your voice and having your intellectual property and making sure it's coming authentic to you, because it resonates with me. Why is that valuable?
Because I started this from the ground up, and I have a vision that is very different than how fitness in this industry is being done, and especially with social media and how things have shifted. So I don't want to become a cookie cutting version of a successful brand or what I'm supposed to be or do once you get to that high level. Yeah. And when you start analyzing like the highest levels, it's like it's cookie cutting. And I'm serving a community that has not been for years and years and years has not been giving the proper education and information. And when you analyze the people that I speak to, they're in this bracket where they have to make big decisions about how they spend their money. Mm-hmm. They're surviving. They're stressed. Think about fitness for the people, not fitness for a brand or to self-serve me.
Yeah.
There's, I started Massy Arias.com as an individual. Mm-hmm. A year and a half ago, I moved everything to Más Vida, more life, because it's more than just me. It takes a tribe of humans to make something successful and to help. To me, it's about community. It's about the people that surround me. And for some reason, and I don't know why, I just don't see the point in making millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars where I'm actually not making a big impact and a big difference. Yeah. One of the things that I want to do this year and next year is really go back and connect with my community and start really impacting my community on a more one-on-one basis. Like I have a platform and I've been supported for so many years. Now it's my turn to give back and give back, give back, but let me teach you how to fish. Word. I want to do big things. I am not going to sell my soul to the devil, per se. So
I understand
that
what you mean.
it's in fitness, I always say it's not that hard to be healthy once you have the tools, right? Once you teach someone and you change their perspective of how they're living a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So that's what I do. When I say I optimize people, I help them transition from an unhealthy lifestyle, whether that is emotional, spiritual, physically, mentally, to the other side. Because I know what it is to be on that side.
Yeah, exactly. That's called growth to me.
Growth. I'm always growing.
And I think,
hopefully.
I appreciate you referencing, the website changing. That's growth. And that's, to me, the macro of the process. When you can think of in self-development, in the personal development, and your ability to actually say, no, I did this. I changed my body. I changed, which allowed me to change my mindset, or vice versa, for whatever it may be. You then were able to open up and see bigger picture. And it's like, oh, now, wow, it was about me right there, but now this is so much bigger then. And now that I'm in a space that I can actually look to help, or, I'm not on survival mode. Mm-hmm. I can, you know what? Ooh, I can help others in regards to this capacity, which will help me. And now it's like and I said, I didn't even realize this, that you're really in service mode right now. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful thing to hear. So I'm glad that you shared that, because that's really why I do this, because this is important in regards to people hearing about individuals' processes to find and pull those little things out where it's this is why we're doing this, and why we are sometimes extreme. And I think that this is why we need community, and this is why we need tribe, and we need our people in our corner to really, sometimes help us take a deep breath, or help us kind of calm us down in certain ways, or be pushed, or whatever it may be. But it's all valuable when you can look at that perspective and be able to pull yourself out and change your vantage point. So I appreciate it. Yeah. I think you are the utmost success, in watching you really, and seeing you I've watched you grow in a world, but I've also watched you grow and change as a mom, as a woman, as an adult, you know what I mean? Just seeing you in different spaces. So it's really phenomenal to watch your process from afar, not really knowing, in close up, and now hearing is. And
I don't know, people think this is glamorous. This is not glamorous work. Today I pulled my hair back and I added a little makeup, but this is not glamorous. Okay? And the way how I started and how I got here, it is definitely not glamorous. Okay? There's been a lot of strategy and a lot of betting on myself. Mm-hmm. A lot of delayed gratification, something that is not taught here in America. Yeah. That was taught by poverty. Okay. Mm-hmm. Delayed gratification, right? You can't get those things now. You have to either save to get them later. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of that. It was a lot of, initially like reinvesting everything into my business, not even owning a car, saying, okay, well, I need product. I have these programs, but I'm telling people, go and buy these bands over here. How can I integrate these things so that it's a one-stop shop? Yeah. And I would be in my 500 square foot apartment, putting these bands in a bag and going in my bike to the mailbox and throwing it in the mail. Yeah. That's how it all started. And for years, 5-6 years, I did that. Okay. And the money that I would do in endorsements, or I would get from endorsements, I would reinvest it into, okay, now I need this employee for a better website, and to optimize this and to optimize that. And at that time, there was not a lot of services that were provided like that. And I understood, I have a massive following that they all want me, but I can divide myself into more of me. Mm-hmm. Let me create something where everyone can just come in and get a piece of me.
Yeah.
but we're going to shoot it for you to actually, it's not going to be 101, but you're going to get me, right? And it's been a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of nights where, if you get, when you look at articles and people are like, well, she gets paid this per post or that, or if she does an endorsement, you have no idea how much in employees and into the websites and into this and into that. And then as an entrepreneur, you're like surviving paycheck by paycheck and you're just like, what? Up until 10 years later, you're just like, oh, I'm seeing, the fruits of my labor, but it's delayed gratification. It's a lot of putting your head down and not wasting time. And my dad taught me from a very young age, time is money, and time, you cannot get that back.
What are some of the things that you do that you give to yourself to allow yourself to know, like, okay, these things are going to feed me so that I can actually feed what I'm trying to build? What are some of the things that you individually give yourself in regards to your like daily or weekly practice? Outside of just the overall just training. Come on.
Education.
Or is that something you're working on? Is that, you know what I mean? Is that something that you...
Balance? What is balance?
It's personal.
I have nothing. I have no balance. I'm taking my first vacation in like 7 years.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because that is something you recognize. If you can say that out loud, like, yo, I have no balance. Then,
I have no balance.
Then
because
that's what we are working
I'm
on.
Infatuated with what I do.
Okay.
I love what I do, and I'm a loner.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a loner. For me, outside of training, like, that's like, I'm optimal. Like, I talk the talk, but I walk the walk.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to what are the things that I need, like, I need my own space. If I don't, just like you said, if I don't get my own space in the morning, like how I wake up, I just don't wake up and just go. Like, no. I wake up, I ground myself, I read 99%, 95% of the time. That's how I, what I do. Sometimes, that's can't happen, but I ground myself. Time with my family is extremely important. I wake up super early. So at 3 p.m., my phone is off, right? Well, I tried.
Like for the
From
day?
3 to 5. I wake up
I know you're up super
from 5
early.
to 5:45. By 3 p.m., when I have to go and pick up Indy, that's it.
Oh, that is lovely.
And that is a non-negotiable.
Wonderful.
It is what feeds me. I cannot be an absent parent. I am a single mom, a working mom. I cannot allow my daughter to ever see that, because she's going to emulate those things, and I have to be present. Absolutely. So these are the things that I have to pretty much I have to sacrifice, and I like to look at my schedule and say, well, Massy, you're not going to get it all. That's what's been sold to everyone. Like, you can have your cake and eat it too. I know that's not true. I know that there's areas in points in my life where I'm going to have to sacrifice some things and focus on what's most important. In the development from like 6 to 12, you better be present. Well, from like 1 to 12, you really, if you don't want to mess up your kids.
Well, and it's funny, doesn't that, for me, because I'm with that, and I'm with the being willing to sacrifice. But and I don't want to say it makes it easier, but I think it, for like lack of better terms, it kind of does make it easier when you're honest about what you value. Mm-hmm. Because as I said, that's lifestyle.
Yeah.
So if you can be honest, I'm like, no, I value this, so I'm okay with sacrificing X. I like X, but I can recognize that I value Y more. So me sacrificing X, nope, I'm gonna give that.
Mm-hmm. My daughter will be here. If anything happens to her, anything happens to her, I am going to regret not spending time. Like my I'm a family.
Yeah.
Nothing exists. That's the most important at the core.
I feel you.
And I speak to my mom. Like I was speaking to her before I came here to get her blessing.
Wonderful.
Like, hey mom, I'm going to be doing this. And she goes, you go, you look pretty. Oh my God. Go. You're just going to kill it, right? Not that she talks like
yeah.
that, but I talk to my parents. We pray together. We pray before anything that I do,
Wonderful.
basically.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's important. There's tradition, and I hold those traditional values. Like, I'm a traditionalist, but I look like a non-traditionalist
Yeah.
because of my appearance, right? But
I think there's magic in that though.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
like, I'm a church girl, but I may not look like it.
Yeah.
But I am, and I'm very respectful, and that's like my safe haven,
Yeah.
and something that I can rely on my family. So having those boundaries is important. And that took me a little bit to understand that you can tell people, hey, this is it, and I'm not deviating from it. So I would say from 3 to 5.
Yeah.
5 p.m., I'm not responding no text. Like, if I responded at 5 or the next day at 9 a.m., what difference does that make? It doesn't make any difference, right? So I don't care who's blowing up my phone, but my phone is off. I actually have 2 phones, and then that's it. I go on and I spend time with my daughter. And that has been so crucial to my mental health and to like the mom guilt that you feel. Because it's innately, it's behaviorally speaking, we're humans. There's things in our genetics that have been passed on years. I mean, you're a nurturer. Like, you're in your feminine power.
Yeah.
You are raising this little thing that is supposed to be like your project, and you want it to flourish, and you want I really want Indy to
I know.
be whoever she wants to be.
I know, but
it's like, girl,
I know, but you want her to be her best.
Her best, yeah. So
I know, and I know that what you do is nourishing, and that's it.
I will hope so.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because people need to relate that same sort of process to their fitness. Like, if you want to change something about your appearance, about the way that you feel, about the way that you think, right? Or mentally, if you're going through something, you have to understand that you have to have even boundaries with yourself. If you can be in denial, you know exactly what got you there. And we can unravel this and
that's important.
Make it go away, but you have to have your own boundaries and have a schedule with yourself. You can't say, I hate myself, or I hate the way that I feel, or I hate what is reflected in front of the mirror, and I'm sick and I'm this and I'm that, but then not do anything about it and think that you can still do what you were doing before while you're trying to change. Like, no, there has to be a complete change,
you're recreating something,
but it has to be sustainable.
Yeah, you're
right?
recreating something new, so you have to literally be something new.
Change.
Yeah.
And it's going to suck. Nobody likes change. We follow the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Always. And it sucks, but when you go through that process of, I went through something hard, it just builds your willpower, it builds your confidence, it builds your resilience, that when something hard comes, you know that you're gonna, I got that. Yeah. It's gonna be okay. No?
What does that look like in regards to like expectation?
I have no expectations. That's usually what messes us up in our head.
Okay.
So for example, I thought I was going to have a family and it was going to be picture perfect. And now that doesn't look like that. So now I have to recreate in my brain based on what's being taught. Like, hey, here's this box and you have to fit this box. I don't fit that box anymore. So I've had to go to therapy and
is the box closed, or are you just finding peace with not necessarily fitting that box right now?
I found peace. Said, what do I want my family dynamic to look like for right now? Oh, this is it. This is what it looks like. Absolutely. And I'm fine with that. Right. And I'm okay with that. So, I have no expectations. Life has taught me that you may want something right now and life is going to give you something else. So adjusting, I live I have planned for the future, but I have a plan A, plan B, plan C, right? Mm-hmm. And I do believe in, don't have a plan B. It's plan A only. There's some truth in that, but I practice safe and I plan for the future safely.
Do you go through scenarios?
All of them. Now I do. Before, Massy, when she was young and confident, because I've always been confident.
Yeah.
Well, build a lot more confidence, right? Not always, but like in my 20s, I was really confident. And I would just go for it and then just be hit with the repercussions of you didn't think it through. Now I think it through. Like if I do this, what's it going to be? But then I take action. But when I take action and I take a risk, you know already that I'm going to be backed up.
Yeah.
Never want to take a risk and then I took that risk and now what? So there's always this safety net.
Yeah.
And then I take that risk or I make that decision.
In what spaces are you giving yourself grace in everything that you're doing? Yeah, see, I see that. There you go. I see that face. Come on. Before I had kids and even probably even closer, I would probably never ask that question. I wouldn't even care to ask that question because it didn't hold any value to me. And as much as I'm in my opinion, a savage and I'm a killer, but I want people to, and I guess it's my ego. Like I want people to just, even if they're not giving themselves grace, I want them to be in their mind in regards to like, an awareness around where they can and where they not, because I think that we do have blind spots in that. And it's interesting because the first thing when you said, 95% of the time I have my practice where I wake up, I read, I ground myself, and that's beautiful. What happens at 5% of the time? Are you hard on yourself?
I'm the hardest person.
I know.
Like,
so
I
how
never
are you
think anything I do is good enough.
So at what point, and I feel like I don't have an issue with that. You know why?
I don't.
Yeah.
It just makes me better.
Yeah.
It makes me bring the best out of me in my projects.
Absolutely.
What I've done, though, that I caught myself doing is that I used to hold people to this standard.
To yours.
And it is the worst thing that you can do. Like you just can't. And as a leader, you have to understand.
Yeah.
Not everyone is working
like
you. So I give myself grace in that way where I demand of myself, but the people that support me, I don't hold them to that standard.
Yeah.
And I listen to what they have to say. So my circle, everybody knows about me. And before I took on my company, I was scared to manage people because I am not going to sugarcoat things for you. I am going to tell you exactly what it is, right? I will communicate it in a way that is kind and I'm taking your feelings in consideration. But at the end of the day, in my circle, whether it's the people that I work with, my family, we have this understanding that we're going to keep it very real. So for me, I had to learn that. I had to learn how to manage others and how to speak to others and how to not hold them to the standards because I used to get upset.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see it? Like, it's right there. If you move this down, then you're going to see it. How come you missed that? It would be crazy to me. Like, you didn't see that? Why would you put that there? I would get so upset until I learned that I had to delegate, but that I had to spend time sitting down with that person and teaching them how I would like them to do things. That way, it would give me more space to do what I wanted to do, as opposed to, I hired you, and this is what you're supposed to be doing. Exactly. And why are you not doing it?
Why can't you do it to the capacity that I can do it?
Exactly. Because if they could, then they would be me.
It would be you. Exactly.
Right?
But that's not what you...
So...
And I don't mean to cut you off, but I also think that that's... holistically, you don't really want everyone to just be you.
You want the complete opposite.
Yeah,
so that
you want them to
whole.
be exactly. That's the point. You want them, and that to me, and I've understood that because of the team sports that I've played. I will say that a lot of times individuals who do things individually and excel and grow linear so massively, they usually are the best, and they're the best in all spaces. And they don't trust other people to do something for them because they're like, I could do that better. And then when you realize, yeah, you might be able to do that better, but you also can't do all the things.
Exactly.
And you don't even want everybody to do all the things the way that you would because you won't have a holistic, healthy view. It's like, yo.
It's only your view.
Exactly. So I love that. When you were talking about the way that in starting the fear that you had, but then you learning how to, okay, you know what? I got to keep it a buck. I got to keep it real with these individuals. That plays into my question around like what role does like truth and honesty play in your life right now?
I live by only the truth and honesty. My team, my assistant is right there and I tell her, if you need to check me, check me. And when we first started working together, I said to her, I'm going to be very direct with you. If I'm pushing you too hard in the way that I speak, you have to check me. And my team, we check each other. And I think Indy taught me that. Indy taught me a lot of things. I can't just look at this little human and just be like, right?
Yeah.
Or even my voice. So my voice, I don't have this tone of voice. I have a very stern kind of voice, right? So, which is great for what I do, right?
It is. It's a good leadership voice.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But with my daughter, and she's so highly emotional and empathetic, I've had to learn.
'Cause that's what you need.
Exactly. I wanted a boy so bad.
Of course you did.
I wanted a boy so bad.
Who's surprised about that?
Right? And then I was giving this little girl, and I just fell in love. Oh. And she just brought out of me something that I really needed.
Man, I feel like I'm talking to myself here.
No, I really needed this little girl who is just, she's just wonderful. I love that little human so much.
I know. I know you do. And we can connect in that.
She's so cool.
I know. It's like disgusting how I
know. No, seriously. It's like I want to eat her.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I trust me. I understand.
And she's taught me so much. And then I did a podcast 2 days ago where I talked about the importance of learning how your child or your children are developing mentally in different stages from like 0 to 3 or from 0 to 2. And then what happens at 3 and then what happens at 5 here. Yeah. That way you're able to be a better parent. Because if you lack education in that aspect, you're going to be pulling your hair out and wanting to throw the kids out the window. Okay? But if you're around my child, she is such a awesome little girl. But it's because we instill these practices of emotional intelligence. Like I sit with her and we have talks. And the other day, this was probably like a month ago, I said to her, oh, your mom is going to give you another sermon. It's going to be another long conversation. She goes, but I like it. And I go, you like talking to me? She's like, yeah, I love talking to you, Mom. I said, oh my God. And we have these awesome conversations, and she's really just smart here, really smart and really aware.
Yeah.
And aware, I said to her that she has a superpower. Innately, I already see it. She is going to be just empathetic, and she's going to immediately know how someone is feeling and how to make them feel better.
She's the upgraded version of you.
I really hope so. I really hope, I'm putting a little human into the world that is just kind and just making other humans just feel
Well,
good.
What's interesting? To hear you talk about the things that you value about Indy are not things that you have been talking about yourself.
Oh, she's completely different. She's
Which
completely
lets me know,
different.
but that right there shows you that that's actually what you really do value.
Yeah.
Because when we have these individuals, these little people that we've created, I love my daughter so much that I'm willing to actually develop myself in spaces that if it was not for them, I would not care to develop them.
Yeah.
Like anybody else still is similar in the sense that I don't like to say she can be sensitive in moments in certain spaces where if it was anybody else, especially an adult, I'd be like, you got to figure that out. No, you got to figure that out. But because of who this person is in relation to me, I'm like, oh, I would never tell this person to figure that out. I'm like, I'm going to come down with you and we're going to figure this out together and I'm going to help you and you're going to show me a different way and I'm going to become better because of this. Like, I haven't been able to see this way. What? Just that thought in general is like, who is this? So it lets me know like, oh no, when you love something to a point that how much are you willing to develop as opposed to being stuck in your own ways? Because and I love it. I love that you literally didn't say everything that you love about Indy and everything like, yo, I hope that she's this and she's going to be this. I'm like, that's crazy because you don't say any of that stuff about yourself. You haven't once said to me, you know what? I just want to be empathetic. I just want to be. No, I think you are in the manner of what you're trying to create for people. That's the compassion that you show in the sense of you're like, no, I know how to make yourself better. Mm-hmm. I know how to make you healthier. I know how to do that. So yes, follow me and let me lead you in these spaces. That's the compassion.
Oh no, I'm a very This is what I've had to unlock
your
in
macro,
my 30s.
In my opinion, my perspective is your macro compassion.
Mm-hmm. I have no compassion with myself. I only demand the best thing. I say to myself all the time, like, oh, that could have been better. But for others, my mom is one of the most empathetic people that I know. And it's that lady, she's known in her community for just being her.
She's still in DR?
Yeah, she's still in DR. And if she has one heart to give, she'll just give it. That's her. Mm-hmm. How could I be anything less? I love people. And especially when you see people hurting. People are wearing their stressors on their bodies. And, these 10 plus years that I've been in here, I connect. No one is handling my account. I create everything. I connect.
Yeah.
So I understand people's needs, at least the people who follow me, because I'm connecting with them. And if we all operate, and I know that it sounds really cliche, and hopefully the world will become a better place. But if we're all treating each other in the same way that we would like to be treated, or just like you said, if we're treating even adults how we see our little humans.
Yeah.
If we're treating each other that way, the world will be a better place.
Correct.
We don't give, and I've been really tough on people.
That's grace. That's grace, Massy. Because I think that it can be challenging in moments to look at adults as little people in the sense of, because to some degree that can come across as condescending for some people, where it's like, no, it's not. I'm not trying to be condescending. When I look at little people, when I look at children, I look at them as underdeveloped in certain ways, developed in other ways. Mm-hmm. When I look at human adults, underdeveloped in certain ways, developed in other ways. Exactly. So it's like, I don't think condescending comes across when I'm judging. Mm-hmm. But if I can just like pull apart and really let go of a judgment in relation to like, oh, no, okay, this is just what it is. And it's like, I'm not gonna. The same way that I'm excited with a child and I'll work with a child in certain spaces. It's like, no, I'm not judging. But a lot of times the individual can feel that is condescending. It's like, no, I'm here. I'm not, it's not like I've rejected. I haven't turned my back. I'm not ostracizing. It's like, no, I'm actually here. And that's, to me, my expression is that's me showing that I'm not condescending. The fact that I'm willing to be in this. And not to say that I think we're all developing like our communication skills and tools in that space. Because I know my team is helping me with that as well. In regards to how to communicate to get your point across. But I think that that's the biggest thing for leaders in recognizing like how to get the point across. If there's been something that's been said to me a lot of time, what's the point? And that's where I'm at now. It's like, what's the point you're trying to get across? If you can be clear about that, okay, then you can figure out whether at the point of how to get it across. It's like, okay, if I know a point, then I can figure out how to get that across.
That takes a lot of grace.
It does. It takes personal grace because we have this expectation a lot of times where it's like, they have to get it right. We have to get it right. Oh. So in the moments where it's like, ooh, okay, I have to help them get it right. How do I help them? Because essentially our path is ours. And when you recognize that not everybody can take our path, and it's a vulnerable thing, is that there's a whole host of things that come along with that. Every time when I heard you talk about the being really mindful of, creating something with yours and your vision, it's hard to have someone or feel like somebody is creating your path and it's not really the path you want to take. It's a very difficult thing to just be in trust with somebody. It's like, no. I'm going to trust that you're going to lay this path down. I remember I had this, my father, there were moments when I was really young where I was like, this dude is nuts. Like I actually did not trust. And then one moment happened where he said something crazy to me. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to trust you. If this doesn't work, we're a wrap. And it worked. It reinforced everything he had ever done and everything he would do. Mm-hmm. My path opened up in regards to trust with this man because it was like, oh, he has my back. I'll do anything this dude wants me to do now. Mm-hmm. Because at that moment of like extreme, he said something to me and I was like, what? And all I was looking for, and I guess this is a notion of like real trust. I was wanting him to just allow me to stop. And he was like, nah, I promise you it'll go away. Just trust me. I'm like, okay, dude, if I'm going to give you this part of my heart if I trust you. And it did. And I'm like, oh, this guy has my back. And now it's like, I want to trust him. You know what I mean? I want to trust him in everything. And then, a certain point in time in life, you learn, oh, okay, the space he's in, I can't trust particular things right now. And but he gave me that awareness in myself. He gave me that in myself. It's like, no, you can trust this. And then he developed me and was able to give me this and allow me to branch and create my own foundation where it's like, you don't even need to trust me now. And I think that's what we want for our little people, for people in our circles and everything like that. We want them. All I see from you is that you want to create foundations for people that they love themselves, that they see in themselves what you see in yourself. Because it's all very different. Mm-hmm. But you just want, it's like, no, you guys don't know how nourishing and how good this feels to know what you're capable of. And I see it because that's what I want. You know what I mean? Like I can recognize and see that in you because it's what I've been trying my whole life.
We're perfectly imperfect humans.
Yeah, I've been trying to create spaces for people to be able to feel loved and feel safe enough to actually upgrade themselves and honor themselves. That's it. And that's...
But imagine this. Like, if you're not honoring yourself, who else is going to do it?
Nobody.
Like, if you're... Yeah.
Like, I think people can see in you, like, oh, they want to, but it's the same thing. It's like, yo, you could tell somebody something a million times. You could compliment somebody a million times, but it doesn't matter if they don't feel it and see it in themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's like... And I think understandably when you have an awareness of, oh, they just don't have the tools, or their situation. It's like, this is why I love people too. And I love watching, I love listening, I love hearing stories, because it's like, you can kind of see why people are why they are really quickly. Spend a day with somebody. It'll answer a lot of questions. And I love that, because I think that's why we're here. We're here to help ourselves. We're here to help people.
Yeah.
This is great. I don't know about y'all, but this is, I love all this shit, man. Right now, what are you trying to actually, where's the challenges right now in what you're trying to create? Yeah. I would like, what, because that's where people need to hear that too.
When it comes to health and wellness, it has to be a holistic approach. Yeah. Right? And like I said earlier, people think that it's only about like the workouts and nutrition. Like, no, you have to integrate a lot of things here. Where's the mental health component? Where is the actual nutrition component coming from? This is not a cookie cutting diet. Can we educate you on everything that you need to know about whole foods, right? So what I'm trying to do right now in the moment is make a company that is comprised of all these different individuals that serve every single vertical of health and wellness, right? Not only a nutritionist, not only your coaches, but where's female health? Where is therapy? Yeah. Where is spiritual health? Where is all these holistic pathways and all these different philosophies of movement? Most people are scared to do the things that I do, and they think I am going to program for them how I program for myself. Yeah, I can see that. But no, that is not the case, right? What we're doing is programming to get you to this level. Yeah. Okay? And if you want to get to this level, great. And if you don't, we're trying to get you healthy. But that's important for people to hear, though. I want a 360 approach to health and wellness, where you have that one-stop shop where you get everything that you need to know. And everything is backed up by science. It's not like, what I think, what works for me. Absolutely not. Yeah. We're all different individuals with different needs and different lifestyles, different circumstances, different starting points. So what I'm trying to do is house a umbrella where the moment you step foot here, you're in the right hands. Are you doing full assessments of people in regards to like holistic assessments early on? Well, but that's going to take a lot of money on the back end. Yeah. For a system and a software. Yeah. We have a little bit of that right now, and collected a ton of data on people where now you can choose and be put in the right programs, right? But this year I'm adding coaches, right? I have an MD, right? Medical doctor. Wow. Hopefully OBGYN. That's what I want. I want to give resources to people that are very low cost. I didn't know that. I like that. I don't even know if people know this. It's funny the amount of people that followed my brother because of all the workouts and the stuff that he did recently, as of like heavy recently, where they don't know that my brother's foundation was created by I was like, my brother wasn't always in that space. Like we grew up in a family of always like, you move, you take care of yourself. But the discipline around like really honoring yourself and your body, my brother didn't always have that all together because he went down a different path. He was, he was the creator of the music and aspect. And so when I see people like these, a lot of the devotees to my brother in the workouts and like how he changed them and their mentality around like taking care of themselves, I'm like, these are individuals that they just started working out. They're not the individuals who I was like, because the individuals with me are dudes who I'm not really talking to too many people who are just working out because they're like scared. They don't want to talk to me because they feel like it's too extreme. Do you feel like, have most of the people that you've gotten, are they like individuals who are looking to upgrade a pattern or upgrade their lifestyle? Or is it like, do you get a lot of people that are starting from scratch? Most of the people that I get, they're starting from scratch. That's a And if you look at the testimonies,
thing for them to trust you.
Oof.
That's a beautiful thing.
The
because
testimonies are amazing.
I'm sure of it. Like I've been speaking on your behalf for fucking. I've been telling people, listen, when you and Lita, because around the same, you guys started around the same time.
Lita was, I stalked Lita.
Yeah.
Okay, and I would take screenshots of Lita Lewis of her legs, and I remember the set. And I said, at some point, I want legs like that.
Yo, around the same time, y'all kind of started on the fitness path. And I was watching, and my brother was involved with you, somewhat with Lita as well. And I remember just telling my brother, Lita's not going to be able to keep up. And I saw something in you that I was like, I'm sure I used it. I was like, Massy's a machine. She doesn't care about anything related to like failing. It's like all processed it. It's like, no, I'm just doing. I'm just going to continue to do and better and grow and blah, 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 blah. And you started this, you see it. And you weren't, I don't think you became comfortable. I never saw you as like comfortable in this space.
And I never want to be comfortable.
Yeah. And I don't know. And I didn't know. It's funny. And also not knowing any detail, I didn't know what the motivation was or anything like that. I really had no. So it was just like.
Because I was hurting.
And that's usually what it fucking is. But I didn't, you know what I mean? But not knowing. But I was like, yeah, she's going to run with this. And she is. And, you know, and I think people, they almost, a lot of times they can't even like process it because they can't see it in themselves. But that's why I was like, nah, she's on a mission. And I don't know what that mission is. And I don't know what created that mission, what is sparking that, but I can see it in her. And it's been awesome because I just, it's the illest to be able to watch. And I know that with that, relationships with people are not easy. Because trust, I know. I do. I understand all that shit. And then having to try to like get people to understand you is not easy.
But when people are ready, I've always said this.
Yeah, and that's their,
Let's say if someone gives you their first impression, like first comment, like, oh no.
Yeah.
They're speaking from an insecurity.
They're speaking from their space, absolutely.
Where I'm not even in the space to do that. That's what they're saying. I don't take it personal, right? And I don't know what it is, but I just can't be complacent. I don't feel, it's like when I'm being in the fire, maybe this is all I know. Just put yourself in the fire. Something great is going to happen.
Yeah.
There's a desire within me to continue to just, it's like a fun game. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I do. You don't have to. I understand. It's like your mindset has been reinforced.
Yes.
Because you've seen it actualize. And so once you've seen things actualize in that space, you're like, no. If I continue to do this, just more will actualize. Physically, mentally. I tell people that the way I think reinforces the way that my world actualizes. So if I think a particular way, I see things in a particular way. Me seeing things in a particular way creates things in a particular way. And all that does is just one big force. And I used to tell people, it's like, yo, my perspective reinforces my lifestyle. And then my lifestyle reinforces my perspective. The more I think a particular type of way, the more things happen to me. The more things happen to me, I'm like, I want to keep thinking like this. And I'm just going to continue to do that.
Thoughts become, like, the body keeps a score. What you think, what you imagine, they call it manifestation or imagery. All of that,
whatever.
You're literally putting yourself in that space where you can thrive. And to me, I see it as a game. And I'm not going to say that sitting here, it's all fun and games.
Oh, absolutely not.
You get frustrated.
The game
you have
isn't
your
always
wins.
fun.
You have, sometimes I've failed so many times and nobody taught me. I'm doing things for the very first time. Nobody taught me how to run a business. Nobody taught me how to do things I'm doing. Nobody taught me how to be a mom.
Word.
How to be a working single mom. Nobody taught me how to do these things. So, going through the fire and learning that delayed gratification and working hard, anything that comes at me, I will figure it out. And it's scary. You have to make really scary decisions. A lot. Like even now, I'm in the process of hiring.
Yeah.
And I said to myself last year that I was going to stop earlier this year because I wanted to go back to school. And it was supposed to start in March and I couldn't start it. So I have to wait until August. But I'm making decisions that are helping me expand the message because I'm doing so much behind the scenes that I can't even be in front of the camera anymore. So I like these conversations because it allows me to tell you everything.
Yeah.
And finally I can sit for 2 hours or 2.5 hours and talk and tell people how I think.
Yeah.
It's very different on social media because of how people are consuming content. Yeah. And depending on the platform, the way that they're consuming that content is very quick and on the surface. So up until you get to conversations like these is when you're able to really know me. I can only give, and like right now even, I'm in a way of, I'm in a state where I wouldn't say like giving surface level, but there's so much going on personally in the business, things that I really have to put my head down and build that are not truly allowing me to be, there. I used to be on my phone all the time. I just can't do that for right now. It doesn't mean that I won't do it later on, but I'm working on a lot of things, and whether it takes me 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it doesn't matter. I will make them happen little by little.
Nah,
the world is not going anywhere.
There's no doubt of that. Where would you say, I ask this question because I think that everyone that I sit with, we all have this innate wisdom. And a lot of times we won't acknowledge it, or maybe we don't consciously believe it, but I think we do have it. And I think you've acknowledged it in many ways. Hence why you've been able to do that. But where would you say, if you had to pinpoint one or a few spaces, where would you say that you're the wisest? Where do you feel comfortable the most? And like, listen, I know where I could say I think you're the wisest, but I want to hear you actually. Yeah, there is. So I want you to big up yourself. This is a big, you have to be willing to be honest about like where you actually feel like you're the wisest and what you bring to the table in regards to perspective.
Wow. I wasn't ready for that.
Good.
Because I'm seeing things in the very honest way, that's where my wisdom is, in the facts. I've never been I've been the person. I've grown. I've come a long way. But acknowledging the realities of things, not living in a dream world. I acknowledge reality. I don't know, giving you the honest truth. Not my honest truth. I'm giving you the facts. We do a lot of research. Everything that we do is just researched. It's not like, oh, it's my gut feeling. Like, no, this is the facts.
Gotcha.
This is evidence, right? But that and the fact that I care, and I just care. I care about humans. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
You answered it.
I literally just have this is gonna bug me.
And that's okay. I want
Ooh, I got hot.
Good.
Look, like this is gonna bug me. Now it's just like, okay.
To give you I do think that that's real. I think there's not enough of those spaces where people are given the opportunity to speak to where they're actually most confident. Like, and that's the point. You're a confident individual, so your wisdom.
Now I get you.
I know where you're wise for me. Where do you actually know and truly understand, oh, I'm wise in this space?
Oh, I'm wise in my space.
I know you're wise. So that's why but I think that people aren't given opportunities a lot of times to voice that, whether it is they're shown to be, they're cocky, and because it's not in relation to anyone else. You know, when I'm not asking you anything else about being better than or anything like that, I'm asking, and you answered it, but I'm asking around if we all, in my perspective is if we all come from source, whatever that looks like. There's wisdom that comes along with that.
Yeah.
You know, we can't look at children and be like, oh, they're so this, they're so that. And it's like, yeah. And I do believe that through life choices or whatever, we forget a lot of our innate wisdom. And it's like, yeah, but on our paths, there are certain things where every individual I talk to at some point, something in their life, they're like, I've always known that this. I've always known this. Nobody had to tell them that. And it's like there are things in us that we are wise, and sometimes we develop them. Sometimes people go through their whole lives and they choose not to develop it and not to give any attention to it. I'm not that person. I'm like, nah, we're going to give attention to all that shit. We're going to develop those things.
I would say, and I've always been, I can get anyone to be motivated to do something. That's my superpower.
There we go.
If you're right next to me, there's no way that you're going to fail. Absolutely no way. Anyone, and I say this confidently, if you are in my circle, you will walk out a better person.
Absolutely.
In every vertical of your life.
You upgrade.
Because I'm a fixer. That's what I do.
You, by proximity, and within proximity comes a whole host of things, you know, through example, through teaching, whatever. You make people better. You upgrade individuals.
Yes. That's what I do.
That's what I was going
to my own detriment.
Yeah, I'm not saying, listen, and I'm not saying that that's I would, we're not even going to speak to whether or not it's not at the expense of. I'm not saying that. That might be true, absolutely. But I could absolutely, my whole thing was I was going to say you upgrade people.
Yeah.
And I love that. And you know why? Because I love it for you, because you can honestly speak from a place of you love it.
Yeah. And I think what we see, my parents always make me part of conversations. Their conversations, right? There was mutual respect.
Yeah.
Right? And they always, like my dad, knowing or not knowing, both, like my three parents that are now alive, they always believed in me. They always believed. And I have that in me that I always say, there's absolutely no way. If I can do it, you can do it.
Word.
Out of all people, trust me. You can develop yourself in all the skills, you know?
Yeah.
And I do believe some people have different gifts. Some people are more analytical. Some people are more empathetic. Some people are more driven. And in whatever gift that is, yes, but we can be optimized in all these different ways, and mentorship is important. And I give people grace, and this is what I meant when I said even adults, you have to give them the same grace that you give your children, right? I was very lucky that I had the mentors, and that I have mentors today.
Wonderful, yeah. That's gratitude.
And without them, like if you see my phone, I'm constantly sending people messages like, I just want to let you know how important you are. Like, thank you for this. Thank you for that. And culturally speaking is how we are. Like Latinos, well, at least in my household, we just help each other. And honestly, I had good mentors from my parents, good and bad. I saw good things.
Yeah.
Bad things.
That you were able to me, that's okay.
That's okay. They're people.
Yeah.
I'm making my own mistakes.
Yeah, listen, I had coaches that I was like, ooh, this guy's going to be my coach for a few years. I need to be able to learn from him. So what I learned was how not to be.
There you go.
I was like, and my perspective was, I'm not going to leave this school. So if I'm choosing not to leave this school and I know he's going to be my coach, then I have to learn something from him. Mm-hmm. So I just learned what I don't want. I was like, nope, I'll learn what not to be.
Yeah.
And so what that did was it allowed me to like almost like do the opposite in certain spaces. No, that's I love that you're in a space where, and maybe is it a Latino thing? I don't know. The gratitude, yeah. And well, first of all, support and family is at the forefront of that. Yeah. And I think when you recognize, because for me, I am all about family, and I'm all about support. I am by no means. I'm a direct byproduct of support.
Mm-hmm. If I didn't have the support that I had, and then you see yourself in other people, and you know when you can bring, you know when you've been in that person's shoes, how can you not pass that forward?
Yeah.
What has been passed on to you, how can you not? You know? Yeah. That to me, I would be a hypocrite. What kind of person would I be if I'm not passing it forward? Yeah.
No, that's awesome. All right, we the last part of this is more of a like introspective, and I guess the good transition from the wise question, but I start to more ask you questions where you're gonna have to think about in regards to life.
Okay.
And
bring it.
I'd say, so what is something that you actually love about your process, and that you're like, oh, I just love this about?
That I take no shortcuts.
There you go.
No shortcuts. And the people that I work with, they would know if this is not perfect, or, oh, it's a lot of work. Well, get ready. Yes. I believe if you do things right the first time, you don't have to do them again. I don't have as anything.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Now, what is something about your process that you don't necessarily like, but you know either you're going to work on it or you're getting better at it, where you like, okay, I got it.
That I take no shortcuts. And this is hard. When you don't take any shortcuts.
You don't take any shortcuts.
And you want to do things with integrity, it is so much harder. It is so much harder to do things when you are that person. And I did this exercise with someone that I'm trying to hire, and my coworkers asked my coworkers what they thought of me when I was not in the room. And they said the same thing. Like, oh, Massy, she's about that life. She doesn't take those shortcuts. Yeah. Like, we're going to do this right. And there's no, I I unfortunately had to let go of people that I was working with for a very long time. And I grieved that.
Yeah.
And especially because what we do, I want every single person that is touching on Mas Vida, that is interacting with people, they need to have the same integrity. There's no shortcuts there either. If you don't believe in health and wellness, if you're not empathetic, the way that you're responding to another person, the way that you're communicating, how you're communicating, you have to understand that people are vulnerable. And I understand that. When they're coming into my space to buy some of my services, they're vulnerable. They're asking, hey, I'm having a hard time doing X, Y, and Z. So on the other side, you're speaking to a human.
Yeah,
and you have to
of all that
honor,
yeah.
you have to honor that human. When things become transactional, that's when you and I just have to go. Because with vision comes transactions.
Yeah.
And when you have vision and passion, and that's what feeds the funnel, that's what people are buying. They're not buying necessarily, oh, it's a good program. You can find good programs anywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Not like mine, though. But you would understand that what you're buying is the philosophy, the vision, the years of consistency, right? That's what you're buying.
Yeah.
The story, right? And I would honestly say those two things, that one thing is my detriment.
That can be really interesting. That's an interesting dance. Creating something that you're creating it for humans, and you're creating it on a human level because of the human dynamic and being mindful of human, but it's a business, but it's a brand. That's an interesting dance to be able to like navigate both worlds.
Not really. I had a hard time with that, right?
Yeah.
With feeling okay, the fact that I have a successful business. I had a hard time with that, but I understood that it's an exchange of services.
Yeah, well, the success to me is just the notion around, I don't think, if you're honest around like why you're doing something and feeling the success, but I think that, and maybe it's just Western ideology in regards to business. When people say like, oh, it's just business, it's not personal. And I'm like, I personally have a thing. It's like, no, like, I want my business to be personal because I care about things that are personal, and I want to care about the people, and I want to care about what we're doing, and I want the people to care. So finding that like balance between the two of, no, everything I do is personal in my life because it's my life and I care about this. Like, how is it not personal? It's like, I don't want to be attached. I don't want to be detached to anything where it's not like, I don't want that to be my world, because I think when we are doing things that are not personal, we can dehumanize. We can look at something as a property right as opposed to a human right, as opposed to the individual. And that's not what you know what I mean? Like, so that's an interesting dance. Like, success is success because, for me, if you can understand why you're doing something, it's like, well, then, no, of course it's going to be successful in any capacity. But that's where I meant in regards to it can become a little dance with what society, the pressures of society in regards to creating something and trying to create something. And, you have to be really mindful and meticulous with the individuals that and you said this to me. It's like, yeah, I do. I want everybody to understand why I'm doing this. And so you have to be very particular about who you're going to bring a part of this. And with that will come growth and will come individuals where it's like, no, this, and I think that my team is understanding this in regards to articulating your vision and getting people to understand and see, and then trust, because that's a whole nother thing, and trust your vision. So, I love that. I just love that. And I know that that's something that, you're always working through. What would you say, and I think we only have 2 more questions for the most part. What would you say this existence is? Like, what would you like this existence to be? If you had to, frame it in regards to what this existence means, what it represents
To be a
you.
human?
Yeah.
I feel like we're constantly trying to understand each other, ourselves, like who we are. And it's become like really interesting to navigate yourself in a world where we still yet have to understand that every single individual is a different individual with different needs and different, we're trying to put everyone in a box when we're so different.
Yeah.
So I think this existence, to me, what it means to me, I'm already living it. I'm unlocking everything that I could, right? Especially while I'm young.
Yeah.
The day I die, I want to, not that I want to do it all, but I want a life that was lived. Not just, I can't comprehend the idea of someone just being complacent and just, I don't know how to articulate that. How to, like, life is supposed to be lived. So freaking go and do it. And do it.
I like to reference it as make everything into a verb. Everything. Just make your life into a verb.
Yeah.
Because that's being. Mm-hmm. And I agree. I think we are through that. That's where we actually ascend.
Yeah. I truly feel like I'm living in my purpose. And I don't, like I said, I don't see myself doing anything else. I'll do different variations of the things that I'm doing.
It'll grow. It'll
evolve and
absolutely.
all that. But I love what I do. And we all have different gifts. And every single day, I get my little wins. Every single day, my little wins. Like what I do is very fulfilling to me. Because it's serving more than just me. And anyone that comes in new into what we're trying to do, they may not understand it right away, but then when they come in and they see the community that we have, they understand. Right. We're dealing with like real people with real problems and real successes and and we're a community and it's extremely powerful.
You're a form of therapy. I know you know that.
Yeah.
You are 1000% a form of therapeutic power for individuals. Last question. You told me what you do, and we're going through this whole thing. But Massy, who are you?
Oh my God. Like, what is these questions? Oh God. You know how many books of fiction I've written where this question was asked and the person is like describing what they do instead of who they are?
That's why.
Wow. Who am I? Massy? Wow. I'm leaving out of this and you have asked some really good questions. Who am I? I'm a lot of things.
That you are.
Wow. Are we going to edit this?
We'll edit it to the capacity that you want because
who am I?
This is important for people to see though, because I don't want you to feel like you have to or rush it in any capacity, but it's real. This is real. This is a human.
I don't think I can answer that yet because I haven't put myself in the position where I should be in my head. So I still have a lot of things to develop within myself. Mm-hmm. Things that I'm like every year unlocking.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have a clear answer
I know, 'cause you're still
as to who I am. I can give you a description of me. Like I'm just a regular person. I'm just a regular human being who is kind and wants to be a good human. What that looks like, it has looked very different. My version of what a good human is. Yeah. And it's developing even further as I grow and as I make mistakes and as I experience life and as I get sometimes crushed by life. I'm continuing to evolve. So that's very hard for me to describe. Like, who am I? I don't think I'm ever going to be this version of myself. And I feel like constantly I'm just getting better, becoming more mature, becoming wiser in my decisions. And especially when things get really hard and I see myself like, oh, I should have not done that.
Yeah.
Because I overextended myself. Nobody told me to do X, Y, Z. And Captain Save the World came in, right? So it's hard for me. Hopefully, I continue to evolve. I continue to look within myself and see things that I need to work on. And it's hard for me to... I am evolving constantly.
You answered it, Massy.
I did?
You literally just gave me a full, thought out, felt answer.
Yeah.
Like that was an answer that wasn't coming from just you thinking about what you wanted it to. That was an answer that was honest and vulnerable and came from feeling. That's it.
Okay.
And I do that because I want people to not know, but feel, and really have to sit and say, this is what I feel right now. There are some people that can give me the answer clear cut in regards to, oh, I am so-and-so right now. And that's fine because that's what they feel. Oh. Mm-hmm. And then there are some people that can say, oh, I got to think about it. Well, you know what? I am this and I'm this and I'm this. And then there are some people that take your answer and I'm like, whoa, that's I don't know. And then they actually, when they sit and breathe and take a deep breath and take the time, and this is why you can't rush this. Yeah. Because it does need to be taken time in regards to, allow you to go through that thought of the entire Rolodex of your life and then say, who are you? What do you mean? You're everything. So how could I put that question and give you 2 seconds to answer that?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. But you did. You answered it in a phenomenal way, right? I think we're good, right?
I love that.
We wrap City.
This was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
I need better cleaner cut.
Cleaner cut of what?
Cleaner
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, I'm like so I'm just so grateful for you to be able to like do this, take the time, because I know you are, and I know how important your time is. So I'm super grateful for you to be willing to take the time to do this. I hope you enjoyed this.
I did. I really did.
And I'm glad because I like that people don't really have an idea of what I'm doing, and I do believe, and I do have an understanding that once they sit in this, they will feel like, oh, okay, now I know why he's doing this, and they will enjoy this, and that makes them want to continue to do what they're doing, to continue to connect. And the amount of people that you will actually help that are Massy 10 years ago, or Massy as a little girl, or Massy as a teenager, that will see this and hear your perspective and say, okay, I'm staying on that path, or I'm going to redirect my path, or I'm going to take in her perspective and add it to mine. It's invaluable. And that's why I do this. So I thank you. We all thank you for all this. So thank you, Massy.
Thank you, guys.
And I'm excited to see how you continue to grow.
One step at a time.
Word.
That's the best thing that I can say to just end this conversation. To learn delayed gratification, to stay authentic, and to trust that gut feeling. To continue to look intrinsically and say, hey, I'm going to do better because I want to do better, and just push through.
That's it.
You got this.
You got this. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
This was great.
All right. See?